Okay, today I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about Bitcoin. It's been in the news pretty much everywhere. I can't go a single day without reading like 5 articles about Bitcoin, how it's going up. The price is going to go through the roof. It's going to go over 100,000 of Bitcoin, $1 million of Bitcoin, who knows? But it seems like it's the hottest thing since sliced bread. Your grandma's heard about it. And if you haven't bought Bitcoin yet, you're a sucker because you should have bought it a long time ago. Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to all these questions, but I'll tell you what I do know. So let me just start at the beginning. So I first heard about Bitcoin, I think it was around 2012. Bitcoin was priced at about, I want to say $330 a Bitcoin. I'd never heard of it before, but when I started looking into it, it sounded very intriguing. It's supposed to be an unregulated currency that the government isn't able to regulate, and even though it's public information, it would be anonymous, so which could be very appealing for people who want to purchase things and not, necessarily give up their identity or give up control to a third party like banks or have the government in their business. I think initially it caught on with like drug lords and illegal activities, and so it kind of become famous for dark web activities. And I heard some rumors of Bitcoin ATMs popping up here and there, or some businesses, allowing you to buy pizza with Bitcoin. But it never really seemed to pick up popularity. But in any case, it is slowly, I've been watching it, and it's been slowly increasing in price since then, to about $1,000 at the beginning of 2017. Now, at the time, I was like, well, why didn't I buy any Bitcoin? I don't own any Bitcoin, by the way, but why didn't I buy any in 2012? Well, I'll tell you why. I actually looked into it. I wanted to buy probably between 1 and 3 Bitcoin, but the reason why I didn't is because I was nervous about the security of it. All the Bitcoin banks that I was looking into, they were getting hacked, Bitcoins were stolen, or they were maybe not even getting hacked, they were just shutting down and taking your Bitcoin. So all the banks or wallets that you were technically storing your wallet information, they were just disappearing and stealing your Bitcoin. So I was worried about the security of, where you're going to put it safely. And then second of all, how are you going to get the money? Is there a place where you can just go, hey, let me cash out my Bitcoin, and they just give you some money like that? Or is it going to take time? Is there going to be transaction fees? Is there going to be issues? So I was very hesitant at the time. So I was like, I just don't feel comfortable. I'm going to wait. Anyway, fast forward summer 2017, I had a friend that said, hey, Bitcoin, I just bought 1.5 Bitcoin. My friend told me it's going to blow up. You got to buy Bitcoin. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know. Like, Bitcoin's $2,000 now. Bitcoin, I mean, what can you even do with it? I mean, does anyone really accept it still? I mean, I could definitely see potential, but the bottom line is my fears of how liquid is it? How easy am I able to use it if I need to? Because to me, just buying it and holding it to hope that it appreciates is not enough. Like, I need it to actually be useful. Like, I want to be able to use it. Now, sure, could it be useful in a few years? Absolutely. But I just don't feel that it was liquid enough for me to want to jump in. And I still had the same concerns about cybersecurity. Any case, so I waited. Now, what is it? It's December 8th, 2017. Bitcoin actually crashed a little bit yesterday. By crash, I mean it went from like 19,000 to 14,000, but I think it's since recovered to 16,000 again. The futures market is coming out on Sunday, so it'll be very interesting to see, what's going to happen. People are saying that big institutional money is going to come out, and they can either short it or, go big on Bitcoin, and the price could continue to go up. So we're gonna see. We're gonna wait and see. But I mean, this is ultimately my recommendation: is that I think it sounds very, very risky. And if someone were to purchase Bitcoin, myself included, definitely only spend the money that you would be willing to lose. Like, assume you're going to Vegas and you're just going to lose all your money and you're okay with that. So if you have money to blow that you don't necessarily could put into better things, such as paying off your student loans, paying off a house loan, car loan, maybe paying for your education, down payment for a house. I mean, there's so many things you could spend that money instead of buying a Bitcoin that may benefit you more in the long term. But sure, if you have extra money to spend and you think you know of a safe way to store your Bitcoins in a safe wallet, or write it down by hand, write down your 32-digit encrypted combination by hand and just don't ever lose it, otherwise you'll never get your Bitcoin back, then sure, buy a Bitcoin or a fraction of Bitcoin, see what happens. But my reservations are that there's already over 100 different cryptocurrencies. Many of them are already more useful or faster than Bitcoin. One of the problems with Bitcoin is that I say it's slow. The transaction process is very slow because it requires all these computations from all these miners and computers to process everything. So it's a little bit concerning that we're using already kind of the first and oldest blockchain technology to both mine and use Bitcoins. I mean, so what if they say it's a limited number that only, I don't know what, 32 million Bitcoin, I don't know what the actual number is, but there's a limited number that could ever be mined. But supposedly, I read somewhere that the last Bitcoin should be mined in 2130. I have a hard time believing that we will not find anything better than Bitcoin by 2130. I mean, 35 years ago, we were using Apple IIs. So you're telling me that in 100 and, 13 years, that we're not going to be using anything but Bitcoin? I highly doubt that. Ethereum, although not as hot as Bitcoin, probably the second most well-known currency, is actually, from what I understand, practical. It's like a platform for processing transactions where people can, from what I understand, like contracts, like you can sign off on a contract through that blockchain rather than having to go through some sort of intermediary, like a like an underwriter or a bank, or I forget the word, but in any case, from what I understand, Ethereum is actually useful. It's a platform that can be built upon, that can potentially do other things. They've broken it into its own money, Ether, but there are other cryptocurrencies that are faster, potentially more useful, and have better technology, and may actually be safer than Bitcoin. So it's hard to say that Bitcoin is the best or will stand the test of time, other than the fact that it just happens to be the first. Now, there is some value in the fact that there are many people mining Bitcoin. They're mining it, and there's a cost to mining. There's a time cost. There's an investment cost in the computer rigs. You need very fast computers that are able to withstand lots of heat. You need ways to cool those computers down, and it uses lots of electricity. So there's cost in electricity, cost of equipment, opportunity cost in time. That's a real tangible value. So Bitcoin does have some value to it, and the fact that you can potentially transfer Bitcoins has value as well. The problem is, part of me is concerned that if the whole appeal is deregulation, then why are they charging transaction fees to transfer or use your Bitcoin? That doesn't even make sense. Like, I thought that's the whole point, is that there shouldn't be transaction fees, or at least not definitely through some sort of third party, which someone's getting that transaction fee, and that was the whole point of why they wanted to go away from it compared to the banks. So anyway, bottom line is Bitcoin, is it a bubble? Probably, but it doesn't mean that it can't explode first. It certainly could go to 100,000 before eventually collapsing. But my suspicion is that somewhere down the road, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, but probably in the next 10 to 20 years, there's probably going to be something better and more useful than Bitcoin that will come around. Just because it's a limited quantity, well, people are buying portions of Bitcoin, so why can't you fractionize Bitcoin a million times for Bitcoin? I mean, so does it really matter if there's an infinite amount of Bitcoin, a limited amount of Bitcoin or not? Because if you can make a near infinite amount of fractions of Bitcoin, then is it truly limited? I don't know. So anyway, those are my concerns. If anyone has any comments or suggestions, feel free to post below. But at the same time, look, if you want to jump on board, buy a Bitcoin or a fraction of Bitcoin and go on a ride and see what happens, then I would say just only do so if you are potentially willing to lose any or all of the money you put into the Bitcoin. Because if you can't liquidate it immediately or when you want to liquidate it, and let's say it's crashing, you're trying to sell, and like all the websites are saying, oh, some transaction failed, website overloaded, servers down, etc. And then by the time they come back up, Bitcoin's worth $5. So if that's the problem, if that's the case, then there's a real problem. So again, it's almost certainly overhyped and a big fad, but it doesn't mean that that fad can't still go up to extreme highs. The crazy people are often irrational and do crazy things. So whatever, we'll wait and see what happens on Sunday. But that's kind of my 2 cents on Bitcoin. If you like the content, feel free to comment below. Just wanted to talk about something a little different. And hopefully we will revisit this in a week or two and see how things turn out. But if you like topics like this or potentially other topics outside of just sports, I'd be happy to talk about them. If anyone has any suggestions, feel free to comment as well. All right, thank you. Nathan again, and I will talk to you guys soon.